Hey everyone, my name is Guto Thomas. I am a Brazilian game developer. I work as a programmer in a game house here in my city. In these next videos that I will be recording using the English language, I hope to pass to you some of the main concepts of programming and some of the things where you can apply these concepts inside Unity. Okay, I hope you can forgive me about any kind of sentence error or grammar error, which you'll probably find a lot in these videos that will come. But I'm pretty sure that you will be able to understand like 100% that the things that I will say in this lecture. This tutorial series will be continued if you guys find them useful, okay? Depending on the feedback that I will receive from these videos, I will continue to make them, but I will not left my Brazilian side of the channel, let's say this. So first of all, let's create a Unity project where we can apply these main concepts of programming. So as you already probably saw in the title of this video, we were going to take these three key things of programming, which are variables, if statements, and methods. So these are the three main concepts that we are going to cover in this tutorial. So let's create a project. The name can be main concepts, okay? I hope you are already used to the interface of Unity. Here I'm using Unity 4 point something. Let me see. No, actually, at 3.5. I forgot that I just changed the version yesterday. But whatever. So I hope you already used to this interface. There's nothing much going on right here. So here we have our project tab, which is where we will be creating our scripts, and in these scripts we will develop a bit of these three main concepts that I told you about. So first of all, let's create a C# script. I will call it main concepts as well, and I will open it up in MonoDevelop. So before we start coding, let's take a quick look at the class appearance. Let's say this. First of all, here we have this using commands. Actually, using means that we will be importing stuff from Unity Engine and from system.collections, which are DLLs that provide to our script functionalities. Actually, mono behavior is a functionality which is provided from this namespace, Unity Engine. When we apply this mono behavior concept in our script, we are able to use the Unity handled functions, which are start, update, on disable, on enable. These functions are called automatically by Unity. We do not need to explicitly call them. Basically, the moments where these functions are called, they are specified right here. Start we will use for initialization, and update we will be using to make updates in our variables, in our class in general. Okay. So basically, we were going to use these two methods in order to debug stuff. Okay. So first of all, let's speak about variables. Think of a variable, as the name can be suggestive. Think of a variable as a value holder. So guess why variable has this name? It has this name because the value of a variable can vary according to time. It is not necessary that the value actually vary according to time or some time. It doesn't need to vary, but this is the special feature of a variable. The value can be modified to suit our needs. Okay, so first of all, let's speak of how we can define our variables in C# and how we can use them. Variables, the variables that we are going to use right now, they are defined inside our class, which is basically our script, and they will be defined outside these methods. So like here, we will be defining our variables. When we type these 2 slashes before something, this basically means that this is a comment. This will not be executed as a code. It's just for commenting the stuff that we are writing. So the way that we create a variable, that we defined a variable, it's like so. Access level. Then we have the variable type. Then we have the variable name. Then we can assign a value. This parameter right here, it is not necessary to be specified, so it's optional. The variable type need to be specified, so it is necessary. The variable name also is necessary, and the value do not need to be specified when we define the variable. Just if it is a local variable, but we will treat this kind of stuff later on this tutorial series, okay? So this is also optional. The access level, since we want to modify our variable's value in the inspector, we will need to make this access level public. So this will be a public variable, and the value of this public variable may be modified in the inspector. So we will have a field for each public variable where you can modify the variable's content, okay? So what are the main types that we can use in C#? We can have the type int, we can have float, we can have string, we can have bool. These are the 4 main variable types that we're going to use. Int actually stands for integer, which is an integer value, like 1, 2, minus 11, whatever. Float is a value with decimal houses. I don't know if is that how we call this in English, but actually is a decimal value, okay? String is a text, and bool is a value that can receive either true or false. It can receive just these 2 values, okay? So we use bool to control stuff, and we will be applying the concept of this value controlling later on this tutorial, okay? So first of all, let's define our first variable. It will be public, as we already typed in. It will be also of the type int, so it will be an integer, and I will call it my int. This is a special name because when we have a new word, we will capitalize it. This will automatically split the word in the inspector, as we will see in a moment, okay? So as I said, the value is not necessary, so I don't need to specify it right here, but I can if I put an equal sign and specify the value, like my integer will receive the value 15, okay? So I can save this script. It already has a content, which is this variable, and I will be able to see the value of this variable, and I will be able to modify this value here in the inspector. So let's get back to Unity. So where can I put this script in order to get it working? I will select my camera right here, and I will drag my script onto the camera's inspector, okay? So here it is, and as I said, I have my variable's name split in the inspector, and I also have its value, which is 15. We define it right here. that the value will be 15, but I can of course change this value. This is a special feature that we have in Unity. We can change the value of a public variable here in the inspector. So I can just do this, and this way I can change its value. Okay, now let's just create some other variable types. Let's just do some kind of test. I can define like a public float, my float. I will not apply any value to it, but if I want to apply, I need to do this. I need to apply it to, like, I will assign the value of pi to my float, which is 3.14159, maybe something like that. But I'm not allowed to type just this. Of course I need to end everything which is a statement with a semicolon, but this is also wrong because I need to type an F saying that this value is a float. We have this necessary stuff when we are using C#, that when we want to define the variable's value in using script, using programming, we need to type this F before we define the value of the variable. So we need to pay some attention to this special case. Let's save this. I also will create public string, my string. When we want to assign a value to a string, we need to put this value into quotation marks. So here we can insert our value, which can be, this is a text. Then we'll end up this statement with a semicolon. And then our last main variable type, public bool, my bool. And this can either receive true or false. I will assign false for now. I'll save this up, and here in my main camera I can see my 4 variables, my int, my float, my string, and my bool. Of course I can change their values. I can type whatever I want. So once we have find out how we can create our variables in C#, now let's try something else. Let's try if statements. If statements allow us to do some comparisons between the values in C#. So to try to illustrate this concept, let's come here in MonoDevelop and let's create a variable. I will delete everything out and I will create a public int age, and that's it. It's the age of someone. Okay, here we have our void update. The void update is used to do something at every frame, which means that we will be using update function to update stuff, okay, to check if something is equal to other stuff at every frame of our game's execution. So in this example, we will be controlling the value of age through the inspector, and we will be doing some comparisons in the void update to see if our age is greater than 21, and if it is greater, then we will type now you can buy beer or something like that. Okay, so the syntax to an if statement is this: if condition open and end brackets, and here we will execute the code that we need to execute when this condition is true. Okay, so for instance, we will check if age is equals. We need to, when we want to check if something is equal to other stuff, we need to put 2 equal signs. Okay, when we want to apply a value to something, we need to use just one equal sign, okay? So here we are doing a comparison, so we need to use these two equal signs, okay? So we will be checking if age is equal to 21. When we have an integer at the left side of our equal signs, we also need to have an integer at the right side. We need to compare an integer with other integer. We need also to compare a float with other float. We need to compare a string with other string. So this is how it works. Here, when age is equal to 21, we will be printing something in the console, okay? So to do this, we just call a special method of Unity called print, and then within parentheses, we will specify what will be printed out. As we want to print a text, we need to specify it between quotation marks. So I will specify this parameter. Now you can buy some beer. But what if our age is not equal to 21? If it has any other value which is not 21, I will want to print you cannot buy beer. Or maybe if, of course, here we need to compare if age is greater than 21, greater or equal to 21. So we will use this sign. I just done some bullshit right here. So if age is greater or equal than 21, we will be printing now you can buy some beer. But if the age is less than 21, we want to print something else. We want to print you cannot buy beer yet. So for this we will type else. So if this condition is not met, then the else statement will be executed. As you can notice, in else we do not have any other condition because else is executed whenever our first if is not equal to true, okay? So if this condition fails, we are going to our else statement. And in this else statement I will be printing you cannot buy beer yet. I just forget to end my quotation marks right here. So just don't forget to close our brackets. We need to open the same amount of brackets that we close, and vice versa. And let's try this out. Let's save this. Now our script is being compiled. Okay, now we have our age value right here in the inspector. I will execute this game because I need to put the game to work in order to get our prints. As you can notice, I get you cannot buy beer yet. Why? Because age does not pass through this condition, which is age being greater or equal to 21. So if this condition is not met, we pass to this else statement, and then when this first condition is not met, the else statement is called, and this code is executed. Okay, so if we assign other value to age which is not 0, like 2, of course our print still the same, you cannot buy beer yet. But if I apply 21 as being the value of age, now you can buy some beer, because this first condition is met. Age is greater or equal to 21, okay? So if it is, this code inside those brackets right here is executed. What if I put a value which is less than 0 here? Well, I do not want to allow the user to put a value which is less than 0 right here. So what can I do about that? I can do a quick check right here. I can do before those verifications. I can check if age is less than or equal to 0, then I will apply a new value to age. Age will become 0 because we cannot have an age which is less than 0, of course, we already know that. So let's try this out. So when I put a value which is less than 0 and try to apply this value to this variable, the value will become 0 because it will pass through this condition, which is age less than or equal to 0, and then age will become 0. Let's try this out. I cannot apply a value which is less than 0 because it became 0 when I try to apply it. What if we want to print if a person is a kid, is a teenager, or is an adult? We need to have at least 3 verifications in this test. So how can we do this? Let's get back to MonoDevelop. I will just keep this if statement right here. I will erase this stuff. First thing, so the first thing that I will be going to do is to check if age is like less than 12. So if age is less than 12, I will print kid. But what if age is within 12 and 18? I need to print teenager. So how can I specify another condition that can be met by our variable? We need to type else if age is greater or equal to 12, and because we need to attend to 2 conditions in this else if statement, because we need to verify if age is greater or equal than 12, and also we need to check if age is less than 18, because if it's greater than 18, this person is an adult, it is not a teenager more. So we need to specify and age is less than 18. Then we can print teenager, and then we can either check for an else if age is greater or equal than 18, print adult, or we can use an else statement, because both will work and both will result the same thing. I will use else because it is shorter to be written. Okay, so let's try this out. We can see that kid is being printed out because our kid is 0 years old, but as the time is passing by, he or she has now become teenager, and when the age is equals to 18 is now an adult, and if we set a greater value, it is also adult. Okay, so I think this is enough to illustrate the condition stuff, the if stuff, the comparison stuff. But we just did verifications using integers, so now let's try something else. I will erase this and I will try a public string called password. So in this test we will check if password is equal to some string that we define, and if it is true, then we can print access granted or something like that. So we can do like so: if password is equal to 1 2 3 4 5, then we can print access granted, and if it's not, if it is something else, I will print you are not allowed to access this content. So we can try this. Remember that when we have a string right here, we need to comparing it to another string. So this is a good thing to remember. It will avoid you to getting a lot of errors. So when I type like anything, I get you are not allowed to access this content because our password is not equal to the password that is allowed, which is 12345. When I type here 12345, access granted because this condition has been met. We can try something different. We can have a public bool right here called access granted. So when our password is correct, which is this if right here, our variable, which is a bool, it can either receive true or false, which is access granted. When our password is correct, we will of course set access granted to true because the access should be granted. If it's not equal to 12345, I'm speaking of our password, then access granted will be equal to false. And right here, outside of this code, we can check if access granted is equal to true, then we can print access granted. Else we can print again you are not allowed blah blah blah. Okay, so this is basically the same stuff, but now we are using a bool to control everything, and this is very common. We will we'll find ourselves using bool at many times because they are so useful. Look at this. When my password is 12345, I get access granted equal to true, so it is checked here. If I type something different, now my variable is not true anymore because my access should not be granted. Why? Because password is not equal to 12345. Then I have this print, you were not allowed blah blah blah. If I type 12345, access granted. So right here we are firstly assigning if access should be granted to a bool, then we are checking if this bool is equal to true, and then we are printing something out, and this is basically how it works. We do not need to specify this equals to true in the bool, we just need to do this if access granted. This will check if access granted is equal to true. If we wanted to check if access granted is not true, we will type like this: if access granted is different than true, this is the symbol for different, or we can type if access granted is equal to false. But a shorter way to write this is by typing if not access granted. This exclamation mark before the variable name means not, okay? Good thing to remember. So this will produce the same output. So continuing, let's now talk about methods. I will just erase this stuff, and I will also erase these variables. Methods are divided into two different segments. We have procedures, and we also have functions. Basically, procedure is something that is basically do this and then get out of this block code. Void start is a procedure because everything that is inside these two brackets is executed, and then we just get out of this void start. So we can define a procedure by typing void, and then we can type the procedure's name, void print something. We need to specify this parenthesis because here is where we put the parameters to our procedure. In this case, we will not be using parameters. This is a more advanced concept, but we will be covering it later on this tutorial. Okay, so we need to open and close brackets to define our procedure's body, and inside here is what will be executed when we call this procedure. So we can print something which is ridiculous or whatever, like so. It's just printing something, okay? So what if I want to call this method, this procedure? I can call it either in start or update function. I will call it in start. So to call a method, I just type the method's name, and then I type the parameters of this method. This method has no parameters, so I just need to begin and end parenthesis. Do not forget about the semicolon. And when I type this, the compiler will go to here. It will start executing whatever is inside these two brackets, and it will find this line right here, print, and then this crazy stuff right here. So let's test this out. I will execute this this project, and then I have my crazy stuff being printed in the screen just once, because start is just used for initialization. If I call this method in the update procedure, I will find that this crazy print will be printed out several times. Let's try it. And here it is. So what if I want to specify what I want to print in here? I can use a parameter. To use a parameter, I need to type the parameter's type. So if I want to print something, I want to print a string, so I need to specify I want a string being passed here. And then I will give a name that will be used inside the body of this procedure, like something. I want to print something, and I will call something the string that is passed in this procedure. So here, instead of typing this crazy stuff, I can print something, which is the string that is being passed in this procedure. So right here I need to specify the parameter, because when we begin parentheses, it is specified right here that this method requires a string, so I need to pass a string. It can be whatever I want, like something. So inside this procedure, this value right here will be treated as a variable, which is called something, and then I will print this something. We can try this. And now I can see that something is being printed out, which is the value that I specified right here. So what if I want to print a public variable? The cool thing about this is that I can specify the variable's value within the inspector. So I will define a public string, my text. So instead of passing this value, I will pass other string. I will pass my text. this is allowed because this procedure wants a string, and I am passing a string because my text is of type string, so this is allowed. I will save this and get back to Unity. I will execute my project, and nothing is being printed out because my text has no content. So I will write everything right here. So as I write, I can see that the content that I'm writing is being printed in the console. So I can type whatever I want right here. This is a test of procedures, and the content that I write in here is being printed right here. Okay, now let's talk about functions. When we talk about functions, something that you can think of is this: y is equals to f of x. This is a function because we have a procedure that is receiving a parameter called x, and the value of this procedure is being returned as a value which is being assigned to y. So if we speak of programming terms, it will be what I just said. It will be a procedure f receiving a parameter called x, and the result of this function will be assigned to the value y. So to make a function, we need to specify what kind of value will be returned by this function. In my case, I will return a float. I will call my function f, and I will require a parameter of type float called x. So let's exemplify this stuff. Right here, I will create a local variable. What I mean with local variable is a variable that is just valid within this function. So I need to specify its type. I cannot write its access level. I cannot do this. Public float equals to. I'm not allowed to do this because I cannot specify the access level of a local variable. Okay, so I can just do this float, then the name of my float I will call result, and then it will be like x times itself, x times x. So this function will do x times x, basically this. So because this is a function, it needs to return a value, and it needs to return the type that I'm specifying right here. So I need to return a value of type float, and I can return my result, which is a float. So to do this, I need to type return, and then I can type the value that I want to return from this function, which is result. Is a variable that holds the value x times x, as x being the parameter of this function. So now we can apply this concept right here. We can do this public float y and public float x. So in the update function, I will do this. Y will receive f, which is my function, with the parameter x. So here is my function exemplified. So what actually am I doing? I have a float y, which will receive the result of this function, and this function basically will do my parameter times itself. So my parameter is x, which is another local variable. This x value will be passed in. Here I have a float called result, which will receive the value of x times itself, and then this result will be returned from this function. Okay, so we can try this out. Let's save it. So here I have my y and my x values. I will start this project, and I can type values to x, and as I am specifying values to x, y is receiving the result of x times itself. So if we type 2, y became 4. Why? Because when I do f of 2, which is the value of x, then result will receive 2 times 2, and then result will be returned from this function, and the return of this function will be assigned to y. This is why our variable receives 4. If we type 3, it should receive 9, and that's it. So in this video, I hope I made it clear. I tried to explain a bit about variables, if statements, and methods. Okay, methods are split into 2 categories, which are procedures. Procedure is just a bunch of code that is executed, and function. Function is a bunch of code that is executed, but it also returns a value. This is the main difference between functions and procedures. So I hope you liked this tutorial. Please leave your feedback in the comments, and hit the like button if you like this video, and that's it. Bye bye.